Okay guys, welcome back. 15.2 or 14.2, back to old memories. We got the 3-minute pieces, 10-10, 12-12, 14-14, etc. Overhead squats, pretty light, and then chest to bar pull-ups. This will come down to how much can your shoulders handle on those chest to bars, how good is your grip, and how thick is your skin, so to speak. So let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the setup first. In terms of plates, you want to use plates that don't bounce around, so something that just goes to a dead stop when you drop it. You don't want to chase the barbell around the gym. As far as the pull-up bar is concerned, if you have a thinner bar, that might be easier for your grip, and it also saves you from tearing. And then also, if you think about the height of the bar, if you do have to move on to doing singles, you want to have the bar at the height, or maybe have plates stacked next to where you do the pull-ups, but you don't have to jump up. And if you do a single, you can come fast down, go again, fast down, go again. So just make sure that you don't spend energy and time jumping up on the height of the pull-up bar, set it up correctly. Then gymnastic grips, of course, save your hands, that would be a good idea. And then wrist straps, nice for the wrists on the overhead squat. So there's quite a lot of equipment with the shoes. Olympic lifting shoe would be better in here if you struggle with the overhead squat position at the bottom. If you're a ninja, you can use a flat shoe, but for most of us, lifting shoe is going to be the better choice. Now, as far as the warming up is concerned, we're going to start same as last week. Just get your heart rate high, 7-10 minutes, row, air down, non-specific modality, short intervals, 10 seconds on, 30 seconds off, go a little faster, get sweaty, get hot, get the heart rate going 3 to 5 times. Then prep the movement patterns, and this could be anything again from animal movement patterns, maybe bear walks, bear crawls, etc. Making sure the overhead position is ready to go, make sure your squat is ready to go, just general prep. And then we're going to do 3 to 4 sets, 5 overhead squats, 3 pull-ups, practicing the narrow grip. So first overhead squat is a snatch, stand all the way tall, bring the bar behind the neck, adjust to narrow grip, go back up and squat from there, or clean and jerk from the front if you can go with the narrow grip straight away. The idea is that each set, the grip comes in, so you get the shoulders ready. If you need additional warm-up in there, you can. And then to wrap it up, 2, maybe 3 sets, 2 plus 2 overhead squats. So 1 squat snatch, 1 overhead squat, bar behind the neck, narrow grip if you adjust, and then 2 more reps. Chest to bar, just 2 reps, break, 2 reps. One of the things you need to think about on the chest to bar is that the first repetition, very easy to get the no reps, so you want to get the practice in during the warm-up. Okay, so try also the rest periods in there, breathing. You're going to have, we talk about pacing, but you're going to have more rest at the beginning than you think, and much less than you'd hope in the end. Okay, specifically for the movements, on the overhead squat, we're going to go for the narrow grip as much as you can. It's going to save your wrist and your shoulders. Okay, so if you don't have the range of motion for this, you have to ask yourself, why? Get to work. No, maybe you have to go a little wider, but next year, be ready. And then resting in the back rack. So in the overhead squat, this kind of comes down to strategy of keeping the heart rate low throughout the whole piece. You want to keep this aerobic as you can for as long as you can. So that means, when we talk about pacing, is that you might break the overhead squats down from pretty early on, starting with the snatch, wider grip, doing the set of 5, for example, 6, 7, depending on where you are. Bring the bar on the back rack, taking a couple of deep breaths, changing the grip, going back overhead, and finishing the set. Okay? It really depends on you at what point you want to choose that strategy, but know that resting on the back rack makes sense. You really don't want to drop that barbell unless you absolutely have to. Okay? For the chest to bar, we talked about the setup. Make sure that you have a good contact with the bar. You don't have to jump up. Talk about using mixed grip. So if you need to, you can go and use a mixed grip, or if your shoulders are really bad but you still want to do this workout, chin up grip might be a better choice for you. It's going to save your shoulder a little bit. Might come in handy when you start to go to singles on the chest to bar, or if your grip goes, just mix the grips up. First rep. The first rep on the chest to bar is going to be the toughest. Okay, so a couple of tips in there. First one, you can let your wrist slide over the bar to make the lever arm shorter. You can think about pulling and this is for anyway, you can think about pulling the bar to chest, not chest to bar. So you're pulling the elbows low and in. You can also think about on the first rep of bringing your knees high. If you're doing a butterfly, that knees high is going to help you to get that better height on the chest to bar. And then finally, if you look up, your body is going to project this way, so it's going to be easier to get the elevation that you need for the chest to bar pull-up. So just a couple ideas in there. How do you make that first rep, and how do you make the reps when they get tough, because they inevitably will anyone. Okay, and then finally, breathe. This same holds true for the overhead squat. It's so easy to forget to breathe, okay? And we want you guys to keep breathing, breathing, breathing throughout. Keep it aerobic, keep your heart rate as low as possible. So, in terms of the overall strategy, before we talk about specific pacing, you could think of this as 45-second blocks, 45 seconds to finish each movement. So you have 4 movements, so to speak, or 4 sets, overhead squat, chest to bar, overhead squat, chest to bar. 45 seconds, including the transition, to finish it. You may want to choose to have less time on the overhead squat and more time on the chest to bar because it's going to be more gassy. Okay? But 45 seconds is a good starting point for you to think about it. So on the first few rounds, it's going to feel really slow. And when you get to that 3rd or 4th round, it's going to get very spicy. If you get to 5th round, you might just lose your plan and just go for it. But think about this, break it into 4s. The other option would be to go about 60 seconds of work, 30 seconds rest, 60 work, 30 rest. So you think of this as 2 separate rounds within the interval. You do the first round, you have a good rest. You do the second round, you have a good rest. But the most important thing is to space the rest so that you have as much rest as you can on the chest to bar. So I think this first strategy is probably going to be best for most people, okay? Especially if you get to these kind of middle rounds, okay? If you think you're going to just be the first few rounds, you just really have to go. And if you're this person, well, you probably have to pace early. Now, the goals, as I said before, keeping the heart rate low and keep breathing. Now, for the pacing, guys, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, there's quite a lot of reps to do. If you get to a round of 22, you immediately go to nirvana, that's the end. Who knows what's going to happen if you get there, okay? But on these first few rounds, couple options. A, you go unbroken on the first few rounds on the overhead squats and break the pull-ups. I really recommend you don't go unbroken on the pull-ups at any point. You break them, I don't care who you are, from the beginning. By the latest, when you get to about 14th, maybe 16th, if you're really overhead squat ninja and you think it's going to be a good idea, you can go unbroken, 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 but then you really need to start to break them down. I would personally start breaking them down early on. Maybe on the first, maybe on the second round by latest. Rest on the back rack on those overhead squats. And then just use any one of these pacing strategies for your pull-ups based on who you are, what you can do, what you can handle, what your hands can handle as well. And then for some of you, in fact for most of you actually, the negative splits might be a better idea. So instead of doing 5 and 5, do 6 and 4. Instead of doing 6 and 6, do maybe 8 and 4. Or 7 and 5, right? So you feel like that second set or third set or the fourth set is smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? But the key idea here is that you need to know yourself and you need to start to break the sets down much, much earlier than you think. Probably for most of you, you're going to do better if you break them from the first round because you will not be able to come back if you hit that anaerobic threshold and go beyond in the little rest that you'll have available here in the end, okay? Make sure you check out also the mobility tips coming on later, and if you're on the training plan, you can also see our manual. It's posted on the Facebook group, and you can also find it on the blog. Good luck.